good morning, and welcome to Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in a small town. I'm Jennifer Olson, and I'm the Director of Business Development for the City of Marion, and I'm here with my co-host.
Yeah, I'm Russ Williams. I'm Director of Ethos. Ethos is a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training, and development here in downtown Marion, Illinois. In fact, you're joining us at the Citadel building, 108 years old building here in downtown on Tower Square Plaza. And I want to thank you for joining us for Small Town Big Business, and also thank our sponsors for sponsoring us. And that includes Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, and also our producers at Union Street Arts.
Awesome. And so for our listeners, you can find us at Small Town Big Business on whatever your favorite podcast app is. You can also find us on Facebook, and if you want to match voice to face, you can see us on YouTube. Please don't. Just kidding.
And if you're new to our podcast, we interview successful business people that have made great businesses in small towns across the United States, especially here in Marion, Illinois. In fact, our guests here today have a brand new business in downtown Marion, Illinois. I was kidding that you guys didn't walk very far to come over to us. But Derek and Libby Ervin, and you're from Glaciers End.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And not entirely new to brick and mortar storefront,
Right.
but maybe you could tell us kind of your journey.
Yeah, so Derek is originally from Southern Illinois, from Heron. Moved to Chicago to kind of pursue a rock star dream and be in a band. I'm from Southern Indiana, moved to Chicago to kind of just get out of a small town. We met in Chicago, got married, and just trying to figure out what we were going to do. Decided we wanted to maybe get out of the city, and we had an opportunity to move down here to take over his grandfather's farm.
Cool.
And what instrument do you play?
I like to think I play all of them.
Yeah?
I play multiple instruments.
Okay.
Started off with drumming.
Yeah, I
since he
started
was
off
about
very,
2.
very young as a drummer, and then kind of picked everything else up as I went through. I don't play a lot of woodwinds or anything like that, but most of the stringed instruments, and I dabble around with the keys a little bit, mainly synthesizers.
What was the name of some of the bands that you've been in?
Lee and Will Be is one that you can find on most of the Spotify and and Apple. I mean, there's literally probably a list of 20 or so over the years. La Maquita Soma was a band in Carbondale and Chicago that I was in, so quite a few.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So you say farm, and I grew up on a farm, but are we talking row crop, specialty livestock, like when you're invited to come back home and take this over, what does it look like?
So we're a specialty crop farm, and we specialize in value-added products. So I always say I've never sold a cucumber. I always sell a pickle. So that kind of gives you an idea of our philosophy when it comes to that kind of stuff. When we first started thinking about coming here, every time I would come visit my grandfather, I would think, this is just these rolling hills. I could just see an orchard out there someday, And eventually he said, hey, you guys should come down here and, start making it your own. And we did, and exactly the first thing we did was put an orchard in.
Our goal initially when we moved here was to become a cidery and do hard ciders. We really liked some cider places in Chicago, not a whole lot of that around. So we started that and really knew nothing about farming. So somebody put us in touch with FoodWorks that had a farm beginning program. So it not only teaches you kind of how to farm, but how to look at it as a business.
Yeah.
So that was our first step.
Talk more about FoodWorks, because we just mentioned that we hosted a conference training that they did here at Ethos.
Yeah,
But I wasn't familiar with FoodWorks.
Yeah, so they're it's out of Carbondale. Everybody works remotely, but we serve the southernmost 23 counties in Illinois, and it's really just to bring a sustainable food economy to Southern Illinois. So there's the Farm Beginnings program that we took that was about a 6-8 month long program, and then we had a mentor. We also have, we manage the Winter Farmers Market, which I was the manager of that for a couple of years as well. We have a Farming Alliance network, just has field days and a good way to connect with other farmers.
Okay.
And then my job there now, I'm the assistant director, so I wear a few different hats, is I oversee food access. So specifically, I run the Southern Illinois Link Hub. So we assist 8 farmers markets in Southern Illinois managing SNAP and Link.
Okay.
And a really cool thing that we just did this past year is we brought SNAP and Link to the Marion market, which is one of the first markets we ever started in. And then the last thing FoodWorks does is we are going to be having a mobile community farmers market that will travel around to different areas where there's food insecurity at.
Okay. How would somebody contact FoodWorks if they were interested in those services?
We have a website, fwsoil.org, or we're having an annual meeting on Sunday at Blue Sky Vineyard. And, it's really just
Very
kind
active.
it is, yeah. And we just try to support farmers and small businesses and also just local lovers of food, too.
Yeah.
I love that work. I really do. I don't think people always appreciate the financial burden that can come with people trying to make healthier choices and access fresh, locally sourced food. The other thing that I don't think people always appreciate is that, things like transportation can really layer on another barrier to getting that food. Somebody had commented on some sidewalks that the city put on down by the Boynton Street Community Center. And, you have to remind people that area is somewhat of a food desert, and many people in that area, they rely on primarily convenience store for sourcing things. And then if we can open the door to farmers market, that does go a long way.
Yeah, so just implementing SNAP and Link at markets, makes food so much more accessible. It brings in revenue to the market, to the farmers, to the vendors. It's also just a benefit to the community. And with the mobile market, that's one thing that we're looking at, like you said, access to transportation. So if people can't come to markets, our thought is we're going to take the markets to them, traveling around to different areas.
Yeah. What year did you take over the farm?
2017.
Yeah,
We moved here at the
2017.
beginning
Okay.
of 2017, and we took the Farm Beginnings program. And then we did our first market, the Carbondale Winter Market, in 2018.
Okay. And the farm's just outside Johnson City, Illinois.
We're in Johnson City, kind of between Johnson
Okay.
City and Pittsburgh.
Right.
Kind of just outside of Marion.
Right.
I think our neighbor
Is the name of the farm Glaciers End also?
is.
Okay, awesome. How'd you come up with that name?
I'm a kind of an amateur geology buff, rockhound, and I've always been fascinated with the idea that the glacier ended here in southern Illinois. The Illinois glacier did. And so that created the interesting geology that we have. It created a lot of the interesting diversity in the plant life that we have, because that was kind of like the last bastion of the plant life north for a long time. And so I've just always been fascinated with that. And I wanted something, or we wanted something that kind of, in the name, that it had a ring to it, but that would also kind of take in consideration the surrounding area and kind of have a connection to it. And that just kind of fit the bill.
Great.
And that's been one of our goals with the farm, of kind of everything we do is tie it to our area, about local and using local ingredients. If we don't grow something, we source from local people. So that's been one of our goals with the farm.
A lot of our hot sauces and pepper jellies and stuff are named after old coal mines, especially around the Heron area that I grew up in. But so it's been pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So the names are great and the labels are just stunning. They're just beautiful. I do want to step back to cottage food, because honestly, your cucumber to pickle is like so relatable and so simple and literally the best explanation. Two things that I hear in the buzzwords and that we see in different grant opportunities that come and different publications, we hear value added and we hear cottage foods. anything that you want to tell us about what those terms mean, and with the goal that maybe people hear those words, but they don't see the opportunity in the words, right? We want to show people what exists.
That was one of our first field days with FoodWorks, was on cottage food. When we took our farm beginnings class, we thought, we're going to go into markets and have produce and cucumbers and all this great things, and grow all these things that are not down here, unique vegetables. Well, we found out they're not down here for a reason. But at that time, markets were very saturated with produce and vegetable vendors, and we were kind of told you might not get in. So then we took this cottage food class, and it was like, oh, we can process things, turn it into something else, and it has a longer shelf life. So that was very appealing to us.
We were very fortunate in that right around that same time, the cottage food law changed. Due to the work of the Stewardship Alliance out of Springfield. And it really revolutionized everything. It went from, I remember the first time I read the law, I was reading the old law. I didn't realize at the time that it had changed about a month prior to that. And, there was about 4 or 5 things that you could make. You could make apple butter and jelly, and that was pretty much it. And so I was pretty discouraged starting the business. I thought, wow, this would be great if there was more to it. And sure enough, I found out very shortly that the law had changed. And then it shifted to more of, there was about 4 or 5 things you couldn't make. And then there were parameters of which you could work in. And that really changed everything. I think people, think of cottage food as possibly, just, something so, a retiree could, or your grandmother could make a few extra dollars and sell her pickles at the market, but it's really become a business incubator. I think they're starting to see that since the changing of the law and the opening up of the rules a little bit, there are businesses popping up everywhere, and which I personally think is great for these small rural areas and places that have had extraction economies over the years, for years and years and years, that moved away, and there's these vacant downtowns and stuff. I think agriculture and finding unique ideas to kind of have an identity for these small towns and stuff like that, and their surrounding areas could be a big boost to their economies and just their, bring people back and kind of make them flourish again.
Yeah. So are we going back to maybe the 30s or 40s? Because I was also raised on a farm, and I remember my grandparents and my parents having backyard gardens, and grandma and my mom doing a lot of pickling. But when the coal mines would be closed in the summertime because there wasn't a high demand for coal in people's homes, then a lot of those folks opened markets and sold by the roadside, which is what my grandfather did between Thompsonville and West Frankfort. So are we going back to something like that where
Sure.
maybe a lot less backyard gardens,
Yeah.
but specialties?
Well,
I think people are still doing the backyard gardens, and I think the pandemic really reinforced people. I can grow my own things. I can rely on myself. I don't have to worry about these chain supply issues. So we've seen a big kind of boom since then as well. We got very involved with the Stewardship Alliance after our first cottage food class, and just really learning it, and they help small farms and small businesses, so much so when this new round came up for revisions, Derek was one of the key people helping write the revisions and to pass it on, so now we can ship within the state. We can do fairs and festivals. I presented in front of the Senate virtually to, of the importance of this from the market manager side, from a farmer side, from looking at food access side. So we've gotten very involved with it. So much so that we actually have people kind of calling or emailing us almost daily with cottage food questions. But
let's talk about your products in your store, but then I also want to talk about how the store got started, why you made that decision to have a storefront. So I've walked into your store and Christmas shopping and was amazed at the flavors and the varieties of, so talk a little bit more about those products and what varieties
so we
you have.
try to grow as much as we can, and everything we grow we make from that. We've kind of found we're getting to the point we can't grow everything, or we have to source outside, so we try supporting other local farms. We do a lot of, one of our main things we do is elderberry. So we do elderberry syrup and an elderberry drinking vinegar. Some of the things we do is kind of talking about looking at the past. We try to see what some things were done then, because people will see our stuff and they're like, I remember picking honeysuckle with my grandma or making elderberry jelly. So kind of bringing back some of these things from the past.
Yeah, we use a lot of ingredients that just are just on the farm by themselves, that don't take a lot of nurturing. The value-added side of the business takes up a lot of time, and it's just the two of us. So early on we realized that if I can just go pick some honeysuckle, or if I can go and harvest some hickory bark and make some syrup from that, or harvest the sumac that grows on our property, or the mulberry that's there early in the spring, like all of these things are just sitting there waiting for us. And so that kind of focused us in that direction. And now we do more specialty stuff too, like hot peppers, and then we have the apples are now starting to come, starting to actually fruit, and the trees are maturing. So it's been fun.
Awesome. So you have syrups, you have salsas.
We do salsa in the summer. We do hot sauces kind of year round, and that's one of Derek's pride and joy is his hot peppers, trying to get the hottest thing he can. Yeah. We also have not super hot stuff. We do shrub drinking vinegars, which is a very unique thing. When he told me he wanted to do that, I thought that was
those are really
just
good.
A crazy idea. Yeah. Nobody would buy it, and then had some. So those are good.
What is it?
It's
a very old way of preserving fruit juice from the 1600s. They would add a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of sugar. And it sounds weird. It sounds like, oh man. I always tell people, I was like, if it wasn't for samples, I don't think I would have ever sold one of them. But
vinegar's popular for drinking and health.
It is.
Sure.
And these taste delicious.
Yeah, they're
taste
very
like
good.
A fruit juice.
They taste much better than you would think. And, they're actually quite delicious.
And we try to make all of our products where they can be used in multiple ways. So the vinegars, you can put them in water, you can put them with cocktails, you can cook with them. They make good salad dressings. So everything kind of has multiple ways to be used.
I do see a curve and a return to putting more natural things in our body and avoiding some of the preservatives and things that have come along. I look at my granny who had 10 kids and probably never weighed over 150 in her life. She was baking bread, she was gardening, but more importantly, everything that went into her body pretty much was what we would now call clean eating for buzzwords.
Opposed to processed foods.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are starting to realize, how much of an effect that our microbiome in our digestive system has on our whole body. And when you put a bunch of preservatives into that, you're just destroying it. And people do that all the time now, and our ancestors didn't do that, and they didn't have the problems that we're having now.
Good. So, opportunity with the storefront. Did you think that this is where you were going to go? This is the direction, or did the opportunity come first?
So we've been doing farmers markets. We heard somebody say when they first came in over the holidays, like, wow, you guys are new. No, we've been around for like 5 years. Yeah. But we've been doing farmers markets and events and things. About a year and a half ago, we started to see the need. We needed a commercial kitchen. We needed to kind of start expanding. We were going to build something on our farm and realized it's going to be a lot of money. And even if we build it, it's kind of like Field of Dreams. Will they come? We're in the middle of kind of nowhere. So we knew we wanted to be in Marion, kind of looked around and just didn't see anything. And then just on a random Saturday, someone told us about this, and it had just come back open. It was probably six or 8 months before we were ready, but just with everything going on around here with the revitalization and downtown, we knew it was just, we could not pass it up.
Yeah.
And it had hardwood floors and exposed brick. Yeah. We both looked at it and was like, this is our place.
So historical building. I don't know how old it is. Do you guys?
1918.
Wow. Yeah.
So we don't know all the information and history of it yet, but that's one thing we're very interested in learning. So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So are your customers different from what you see in the farmer's market, or is there overlap with new opportunity? What does that look like?
At this point, it seems like there's a mix of both. We don't get very many walk-ins at this point because we just started, and I think we still have to get our sign up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the people were people who have. Strangely enough, it seems like we have a lot of people who travel here from maybe an hour or two away that are not near one of the farmers markets. That now they know, okay, I can go there on a Thursday, and they're going to be there, and they'll come and kind of load up on stuff. So that's been great.
It also helps around the holidays. Our stuff makes good gifts. And we had just, a lot of our regular supporters from the market and people we know, people that have found out about us buying gifts, and we're starting to see kind of the return on that of people coming in. I was gifted this, and it's amazing. And our stuff is very kind of unique and different than what you'll find in a typical grocery store. I mean, you're not going to find anything sumac or honeysuckle. So people kind of like that uniqueness.
I think if there's one direction we might be moving towards, it's if we expand what we do, we'll be incorporating our products into those things so that you can kind of get an idea. Oh, so this is an iced tea that has a fruit syrup that in it, one of our fruit syrups, and then you can take that idea and you can say, oh, well, that's one way I could use this product that they make that sounds a little weird, So just kind of showing people what they can do with it.
Where do you get your ideas? Because it sounds like you're experimenting a lot.
Yeah, kind of everywhere.
From internet late at night, he wakes me up with dreams. I mean, I lovingly refer to him.
Is he the creative one?
He's like a mad scientist.
Okay.
I mean, there's jars and bubblers and things in our house that I have no idea what they are. And it's kind of research and development.
May or may not drink that. Right?
Yes.
Put some signs
Research
on
and development. But he really is the creative driving force behind this, coming up with the products, with the names, and then of course he makes it. So I'm the lucky one. I get to be the taste tester and kind of benefit from it.
Are you more business minded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But background in business, or?
Yes, I ran a caregiving agency in Chicago for like elderly and disabled and hospice.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
logistics, financials, numbers, planning, organizing, my strengths, creativity, and everything else is. And then we both kind of do the farm work too.
Yeah.
I think that's what has been a big benefit to our business, is that we're both have different skill sets that accompany each other well. I think she's really good at what she does, and then I get to experiment and play around and have fun.
That's good.
You guys are an awesome team, and I love the balance. I think it's really special, but is there anybody outside of you that is inspiring, influencing, mentoring, anybody that has had a good impact on you?
I mean, I think just overall the FoodWorks has for us, because it really enabled us to get our start and continues to meet people that are doing creative things, that are also doing the farming.
Yeah, I like, personally, like, I like looking into just people making interesting foods around the world. There's several people who are into wild crafting that do fermented foods and things like that. And there's a restaurant in Scandinavia called Noma. I really love researching about what stuff that they do. Just trying to find interesting and unique ways of approaching food.
One of the things that intimidates people about packaged goods is the label, and I don't mean the pretty side. I mean the side with the ingredients and maybe a barcode. So any tips to help somebody get over that fear or that hump, or where would they even start getting educated? Well,
the good news is that on smaller scales, the labeling restrictions are quite less. It's pretty simple. You can have a pretty simple design. I think in cottage food, your most prominent ingredient is first, and then it decreases from there. So it's pretty simple to get that part of the labeling right. And then they want to know, and you have to label which health department that you're a part of. So it's pretty simple. And then when you grow, you have more resources, and so you can kind of start, do a little more. And that's what we're in the process of right now is, doing a little more deeper dive into like the more strenuous labeling that we will probably be a part of very soon.
And I would say getting started for cottage food, the number one go-to resource is the Illinois Stewardship Alliance. And again, they've been instrumental with us. They have the guide, they do trainings, information. But then for us, it's also just been working with our health department. We've, developed a good relationship with them. I tell all the markets that I support around Southern Illinois, that's your best, you want to be on good terms with them. They're going to be the ones that have the information you need, so.
That's interesting. I think people think of them as the bad guys.
They do.
Like they're here to get you, not to help.
And
so.
They're just trying to make safe practices for everybody, sure. And to make sure everybody's doing what they need to be. So that's again why I can't stress enough of just having good communication and outreach with them.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you want to be in small town? Because you said Chicago is originally where you're from.
Mm-hmm. We both lived there for about 20 years, and at that point, it was any chance we got. We were trying to get out of town to go hiking or fishing. Oh. So then, moving back down here, he has family here. Looking at everything we've done, how involved we've gotten, I don't think we would be in that position in Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's just on too big of a scale. Here, it's really just connected us to community and, is really our home now. I can't imagine us doing anything else, which if I was in Chicago, I would not have said that, I would even imagine living down here.
What do you think the advantages of having a business in a small town might be opposed to suburbs or some other area?
Well, I mean, I think it gives you, you can be a bigger fish in a small pond, I guess. Yeah. That's a good way to say it. I mean, it gives you opportunities that you wouldn't have there. It's very tough. I know from trying to be in the music business in Chicago, there's 100 bands doing something similar that you're trying to do, and you're trying to compete more with people. Down here, you have more resources. You have it's easier to network in a way, I think, because then you kind of know who the people are and what they're doing. And I just think, I think I'm seeing a lot of people who moved away to the city when they were young. I think they call that the brain drain, that have lived in the city, maybe cut their teeth, maybe started a business or two, grew up a little bit and decided, you know what? I think I might move back to where I came from, and are coming back and seeing, even just being able to find a shop somewhere that's open, to start your business and put your business in. If you're looking for a brick and mortar, you have those opportunities where in the city you wouldn't.
I think it also allows people just to connect more to local. Local really hits home a little bit more when you're in a smaller town versus a big city.
Right.
Awesome. So what do you want to tell us that we haven't asked you, or do you have advice for the audience?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing we were talking about just for kind of small businesses or to our younger self is if you have a passion or an interest, to follow it, see where it goes, Again, I would have never thought, I grew up on a farm when I was little, and I would have never seen myself as a farmer, but I can't imagine anything different. And we see that that's our true passion. So just following what your dreams are and, see where it takes you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess piggybacking off that, don't be too rigid. Don't say, hey, this is what I said I was going to do, I'm going to do it, which, that works for some people, I guess. But kind of what she said, I would have never imagined that I'd be a food producer at my age. I had a lot of other plans, and this is what ended up happening. And I have to say, I'm extremely happy with it, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. So
you're learning a lot about yourself and what you're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a creative person, and I never thought, oh wow, you could be a creative person and make jellies, but you can, and even just the running the business, there's creativity in that, and in the marketing aspect of it, the promotional stuff and all of that. There's ways of using creativity in more than just painting a picture,
Right.
And even though we've been doing this for going on our 5th year now, and like you said, our labels, none of that started out looking that good. Our marketing didn't start out looking that good. So I think just education, continuous education has been helpful. FoodWorks does it. I know you guys do it here. Mm-hmm. The different classes and education things. For us as a business, I see that continually being helpful for us as we grow, because you can always learn something new.
Yeah, I was going to invite you to come back and teach a class or just talk about your experiences here at Ethos, one of our business development classes. That would be awesome. Yeah,
because again, we were in that situation 5 years ago for farm beginnings, and it's been very helpful.
Certainly want to thank you for having your business here in Southern Illinois, but also what you're doing in the way of advocacy and rulemaking. I mean, it's so appreciated. And for me, the cynical side of me always worries that those decisions are made on anecdotal information. So I am very much inspired and happy to hear that there is input from the people that are literally putting their money and their time.
Yeah, it's very interesting that we've really found that, for good or bad, we have a platform, and we can speak on our experiences from being farmers to running markets, to doing this, to doing that. So, and again, we were here because other people before us talked about it and laid the way for us. So,
well, this was a great interview. You could always be podcasters for your industry too.
In our free time, maybe.
That'd be awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Derek and Libby Ervin of Glaciers End here in Marion, Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we want to thank everyone who's been listening and watching Small Town Big Business, and thank you to our sponsors, Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, and Union Street Arts. Special thanks to Luke O'Neill, who makes us look and sound so good on these podcasts. And if you want to know more about Ethos and the services that we provide as a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development for small businesses like Glaciers End, you can contact me, Russell Williams, and I'm at russell@watermarkethos.org. That's my email, or you can find us on Facebook. We're at Ethos at the Citadel. And again, we're here on Tower Square Plaza in Marion, Illinois.
And when it comes to our podcast, Small Town Big Business, we are on every platform that you could possibly use. Okay, maybe not, but most of the very popular ones, you can find us. We're also on YouTube. And do us a favor, don't just watch one or two, hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of the content. And sometime when you're have a few extra hours in your day, go back and watch all the ones to date. It's pretty amazing. I mean, one of the things about podcasts is consistency, and I think we're really proud that this podcast just continues to crank out new episodes. So hit subscribe.
I'm Russell Williams.
And I'm Jennifer Olson.